All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Makak double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson talking about how some people are just made to be evil, all right? Because you've got people that say, oh, I don't believe that people are born bad people. You've got people that say things like that, and they're basing that off their own heart and their own mind, right? But when you base things off the scriptures and you don't follow after your own heart and after your own way, which the ways of men naturally are wicked, man. I don't care who you are out there and who you are, if you think that you're so super righteous and you're floating on angels' wings, right? If you was to follow the ways of your own mind and the ways of your own heart rather than the ways of God, and you didn't have God as a guide, you'd be wicked, right? Because when you follow after your own way, anything goes at any time, and there's no strict and set way. This is Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it, right? And when you go into the scriptures, you find what Yahweh Shai, you find out what Yahweh Shai said comes out of the heart. This is Matthew chapter 15 and verse 19. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. Right, so I'm gonna read those two scriptures again back to back without quoting them now. So it's gonna be Jeremiah. Well, I'm gonna quote it, but then I'm gonna just read it in like consecutive order. Or let it flow together. This is Jeremiah. This is gonna be Jeremiah chapter 17 and verse 9, followed by Matthew chapter 15 and verse 19. Right. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies, right? So if a man to just follow his own heart, those are going to be the things that he's following after and that he's going to do. He's not going to think to himself, well, let me stop myself, right? And fear of the Lord is that thing that makes you stop yourself from going too far, man, right? That fear of believing in God he's gonna judge you is that thing that makes you restrict yourself from going too far across the edge. And you've got all these people that say that they don't believe in God and they try and pretend and say, oh, I just know to be a good person of my own self. No, you don't, man, right? A lot of the reasons why some of you people that don't believe in God don't go so far to do certain things is because there's laws in place in the cities that you live in that stop you from doing things, and you're more scared of men than scared of God. And when the laws change, a lot of you people go and start doing certain things, man. Like with this whole alphabeting and rainbowing stuff, right? When that started becoming more and more legal in the world, why did it start rising then? Because the only thing that was restricting a lot of you weirdos from doing these things was the fact that they was considered illegal in parts where you lived. And that's the same with if they was to add any other letters, in particular the P. If there was to add a P to that LG alphabet stuff, right? If there was to add a P onto it, which people know what I'm talking about, if there was to add a P on there, right, and make that be legal, then you'd see a rise in that too, man. Because it's already within you people to do that, right? And you don't have that thing in you that makes you not want to do certain wickednesses, man. You're just scared of the society that you live in that's made it be illegal. But if they ever decide to change their mind and legalize it, which everything's becoming more legalized in this wicked world anyway these days, a lot of you people would run and do that stuff, man. Because you don't have the fear of the Lord in you. You have the fear of the eyes of men within you, right? This is Psalm chapter 14 and verse 1. The fool have said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. So anyone that don't believe in God is not a good person. I don't care what they think they are because they gave some money to charity. Because when they saw a homeless guy in the street, they gave him 55 pence. You know, they gave him the last coppers from their wallet. That don't mean that you're a good person. It don't mean you're a good person because you don't speak badly about nobody neither. That don't make you a good person. It don't make you a good person because you haven't got an opinion to the left or to the right about anything that anybody does. It don't make you a good person because you say that you don't judge. Because if you can't judge matters, then you're an idiot, right? If you can't look at something and see or say this is good or that's bad, then you're a buffoon, man. You're a fool, right? You don't have any kind of moral compass. You don't have a scale by what you judge what's good or what's bad. It's just done based on what you feel at the particular moment. So on one day, something that you think to do might seem evil, but then on another day, that same thing's going to seem good to you. You don't have, most of the people in the world, they don't have a scale on righteousness, man. They just do whatever the hell they think's right or whatever they can get away with at the time. But Yahweh's been watching every single thing that I've done, that you've done, and he's going to decide to either justify people's wickedness and people sinning, right? Because they're of his elect and they believe in his son, or he's going to decide to make people have to deal with that and face judgment for those things. Psalms chapter 14 and verse 2. Yahweh looked down. In fact, let me read verse 1 again. Psalms chapter 14 and verse 1. The fool have said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good. Yahweh looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there was any that did understand and seek God. They are all gone aside. They are all together become filthy. There is none that doeth good. No, not one. And I just recently found some articles, one from 4 days ago in 2023, and it says that there's been a rise of people being into witchcraft and things of these kind of means within the UK. So it shows that this island is evil, man. And one of the subheadings of the article was that it said Devil Island, man. Which it's funny that they say that, because a lot of the brothers over in the UK, the Israelite brothers over in the UK, they gave this place a nickname, calling it Devland. So it's funny that they actually titled that, gave that a subheading of Devil Island, man, because Devland, it was them brothers' way of like saying those exact same things, man, and it's true. It's true what they said, and it's coming out that it's true. There's been a rise of that, man. Over here where I live in the West Midlands, there's a straight up, right, and I might go past it and take a picture to prove this, man, or video record to prove this. There's a Freemason hall, man, with the whole compass thing on there around in like nearby the city centre, in this place, man. There's a straight up thing right there. Then there's been other ones that I've seen in other places within the West Midlands too. These halls and it. So it's coming out, man, that this place is wicked, right? But the thing is, it's not that the society made these people wicked, or it's not a nurture, and it's not a nurture thing with a lot of these people that are wicked. It's a nature thing. They're born that way, right? They've been born that way, man. Whereas people don't want to accept that. When an Israelite becomes like that, they're ultimately being persuaded by wickedness because their natural way is to be righteous. Israelites' natural way is to be wicked, but the ways of Israelites' natural way, is to be righteous, but the ways of the wicked seduce them. This is Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 4. Yahweh have made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. So wicked people was made to be on earth to do evil, man. They was made for that purpose. But people don't want to accept that. They don't want to believe that that could be true. They don't want to believe that. The people that put the Israelites into hardcore captivity in the Atlantic slave trade, they were deliberately made to do that, man, because they're naturally wicked, right? And people that want to say, people say this term, they say that black people are the most racist. That's what a lot of people like to say. When that's not true, we're just the most straight up people in the world, so-called black people, by the way, right? And really, when they say that, they mean so-called black, Latino, and Native American. They say we're the most racist and all this, right? But really, we're just the most straight up people, and we ain't cowards to say what's on our mind. So we just say straight up what we think about people, man. Whereas everybody else hides what they think under their tongue. So that's why it could appear to these clowns that that's the case, but it's not true. It's not true, man. They're the most. That's why they're making biological weapons to target specific races. How much more hateful can you get than that? That you're making a disease designed to get certain people that you don't like. But then again, because people love money, they like to try and say anything that they can say out of their mouth to try and defend Esau, man. This is Sirach chapter 39 and verse 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury they lay on sore strokes. In a time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them, right? So there's certain people, that have got certain spirits on them that was made for vengeance. Now, these people look like a human, right? They are a human, But the spirit that's been put in them is a spirit of vengeance, man. Right? That's the spirit that's within them is not a spirit of righteousness and a spirit of the elect of the nation of Israel. It's a spirit of vengeance. So when you see all these people in the world that are doing all of these crazy things where they're violent beyond measure, right? These people were made to be like that. That's one of the Lord's spirits of vengeance. So don't be surprised when these people do these things. Just know that that's one of those spirits that the scriptures speak about. That is a spirit of vengeance, right? Now listen to this. Listen to this, man. Because just like how there's spirits of vengeance, there's other types of spirits too. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 32. And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophet. So a prophet spirit gets put within a person, and that person has to become a prophet now, right? And a spirit of vengeance spirit gets put into a person, and that person now doesn't have a choice but to be a spirit of vengeance, right? They don't have a choice but to be a vengeful person, right? They don't have a choice. And all the people that are Idumeans, all the people that are of Jacob's twin brother, right? All the people that descend from him, they're those types of spirits, man, all of them. And they're spirits that have been made to be destroyed, right? There's people that are made to be destroyed. There's people that are made to have their minds hardened, right? There's people that have been made for this. And people don't want to accept this because they want to believe that they've got their little free will. But there's no such thing as free will. Let's prove it. Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahweh, to them that are called according to his purpose, for whom he did foreknow, he did also predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. What shall we say then to these things? If Yahweh be for us, who can be against us? Because the elect of the nation of Israel have been programmed to receive salvation. Nobody can take the salvation away from them. Death can't take it away, which in fact, you know what? Let me read it. Let me carry on reading it. I'll jump down. Romans chapter 8 and verse 33. In fact, Romans chapter 8 and verse 31. What shall we say then to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? Right? If Yahweh be for us, who can be against us? He that spared not his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Who shall lay anything to the charge of Yahweh's elect? It is Yahweh that justifies, meaning nobody can't point out that, oh, this person got destroyed. Like, for example, an adulterer that gets destroyed, right? Nobody can't say, but look, King David committed adultery as well, and he lived. That's not fair. You can't say that to Yahweh, because Yahweh don't care about our human opinion. He can do what he wants to do. Now, men start trying to make themselves get into the attitude where they think that they can do what they want to do. But here's the thing. This earth ain't theirs to give it to anybody. This earth ain't theirs to hand over to somebody to say, I'm going to rule it. This earth belongs to Yahweh, right? And he gives its rulership to whoever he wants to give it to. And if he wants to give it to men that are Israelites that he's found sin within them, but he wants to justify their sins, he can give it to them. If he wants to give it to the Babylonians for a time, he can give it to them. If he wants to give it to the Egyptians for a time, he can give it to them. If he wants to remove it from the Babylonians and give it to the Persians and the Medes, he can do that. And if he wants to take it away from them and then give it to the Greeks, he can do that. And if he so decides that he wants to take it away from the Greeks and then hand it over to the Romans, he can do that, right? And then he can make that same Roman Empire fall. And then he can make it thousands of years later be reborn again, just to fall again, to be given back to the people that he originally in turn intended for the rulership of the earth to be given to, which is the Israelites, right? He can do that. Because what do the scriptures say? What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, right? What if he did that? And to make his mercy and his glory known, gave it unto the vessels. You know what? Let me read that. Romans chapter 9 and verse 22. What if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, and that he might make known the riches of the glory of the vessels of mercy which he had afore prepared unto glory? So what if he kept making the nation that he intended to rule keep falling and going astray and falling into sin time after time after time again, just so that he could always show mercy to them and give them what he always intended for them to have, which is the rulership of the earth forever, and fulfill the promise that he gave to their forefather Abram, whose name was later changed to Abraham. And he passed the same promise onto his son Isaac, right? And then passed the same promise onto his son Jacob, and passed the same promise onto his sons, the 12 tribes of Israel, and then passed the same promise again from them onto the descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. What if he did that? And it's not a what if, because he has done that. And it's just being waited to be made manifest that that's exactly what he has done, man. But people on the earth, in the earthly sense, they don't understand these things. They don't think that far. They don't understand that, man. And it takes a spiritual gift being given to you to be able to understand this. Now back to Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8 and verse 33. Who shall lay anything to the charge of Yahweh's elect? It is Yahweh that justifieth. Who is he that condemneth? It is a Mashiach that died, yea, rather that is risen again, who is even at the right hand of Yahweh, who also maketh intercession for us. So what intercession is like you're being a mediator to some kind of aspect. So you speak favorably about a person that's might not be doing their best, man. You're putting in a good word for that person, right? So if we're of the elect, Yahweh Shai is putting a good word in for us, man. So that even if one member of the elect says something against another member of the elect, not knowing that that person is of the elect, or justifiably because that person's not acting like how the elect should act at that particular time, right? Yahweh Shai is really putting in a word for both of those men. You see, he's really speaking favorably for both of those men anyway, because Yahweh Shai understands more than anybody else that's ever lived on the earth. He understands the snares of the body. He understands the weak nature of the human body, because even though he had a spirit that was special beyond anybody else's spirit, he had a spirit that was more special within his body than any other human had in their body, right? He still, because this earthly bodies are so weak, he still felt the weak nature of this body. And he still at certain times felt weak and didn't want to go through with his task that he was foretold to do, right? So he understands the weak nature of this form that we've been given right now, man. He understands the earthly body. And right now, he's the only body that understands that spiritual body. But we're waiting, just like how we've received this earthly way, we're waiting to receive that heavenly way, man. And if you say that to a Christian, they won't even know what you're talking about. They won't even know. Only an Israelite can know what that means, man. Only an Israelite. That's not following after that Christianity doctrine, by the way. Romans chapter 8 and verse 35. Who shall separate us from the love of our Mashiach? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or peril, or sword? So if you're of the elect, can any of those things stop you from getting what the elect's supposed to receive, which is the kingdom? No, it can't. Verse 36, as it is written, for thy sake we are killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. So death can't stop nothing, man. Just like how it didn't stop Yahweh Shai. Death can't stop nothing. Verse 37, nay, in all things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, so any demon, any conjuring of a spell, any witchcraft, any angel, nothing can't stop us from getting the kingdom, man. Right? Nothing can't stop us if we're of the elect, because that being of the elect, the person that gave out who was going to be of the elect and who was not going to be of the elect is Yahweh. It wasn't Yahweh Shai that even did this, right? It was Yahweh that did this. And the people that Yahweh made be of the elect, he gave them to Yahweh Shai. As it says in John chapter 17. Let me read it. We don't always need to have a good memory, man. We can read it, We can use our memory to know where it is in the scriptures. This is John chapter 17. John chapter 17 and verse 5. John chapter 17 and verse 5. And now, O Father, glorify thou me with thine own self, with the glory which I had with thee before the world was. I have manifested thy name unto the men which thou gavest me out of the world. Right? Thine they were, meaning they was the Lord's originally, and thou gavest them me, and they have kept thy word, because Yahweh Shai ultimately was the main person that gave glory unto Yahweh, because he's the only person to ever do what Yahweh told men to do, to live according to the laws and to believe in him. That was the task that men have been given on the earth, right? That was a task that King Solomon found out, that the whole purpose of life is that. He searched out the world, searched out what everything was about, and he found the meaning of life to be fear the Lord and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And the only person to ever fulfill that and give true honor and glory unto the Lord was Yahweh Shai. Whereas the people that give glory unto Yahweh Shai are the elect to the nation of Israel, because they're the people that understand that no matter how much they sin, Yahweh Shai's blood can cover that, right? No matter how much they have fell in and been weak in nature, Yahweh Shai's blood can cover that, and they're giving their honor to him when they pray to the Lord, saying Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and they're praying and asking for mercy through the name of Yahweh Shai, because they understand that he's the sacrifice that was gave to the Israelites and no other nation. Right? Everyone wants to always say we all sin. Well, fair enough, you can say we all sin, yeah? But we don't all have a sacrifice for our sins. The Israelites are the only nation that has a sacrifice for their sins. And prior to the Yahweh Shai being a sacrifice for the nation of Israel, the Israelites had a sacrificial system set up with the Lord that he would forgive them. But the Israelites overused that to where Yahweh then set up one salvation once forever after that particular time. But Christians, if you say that to them again, they don't understand that. They think that Yahweh Shai is just a sacrifice for the whole world, which is not true. It's not true, man. They're lying to you when they say that. Because if the salvation's for them and the sacrifice for them, well then why can't we find anywhere where the new covenant is written for being for them? Why can you only find the Israelites mentioned by name when you find out what the new covenant's going to be about? Why can't you find any other nation mentioned in it? Why not? Why when I go to Hebrews, the 8th chapter, do I see the Israelites being mentioned? Why when I go to Jeremiah, the 31st chapter, do I see the Israelites being mentioned when he's speaking about the new covenant, but not the heathen? Why is that? Because it's not for them. That's why. Romans chapter 8 and verse 37. Nay, in all things we are more than conquerors through him that loved us. For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come. So meaning Nicaragua, right? That's one of the things to come. Right? That's one of the major things to come. Famine is one of the major things to come. People losing the plot out on the streets. Potential damn near, I don't want, I'm not even going to say that, man. But potential like people being a bit bitey in nature, being like some The Last of Us characters, which that ain't even really the best zombie the best zombie show, man. Right? The best zombie show that really shows the most realistic type of person losing a plot like that, I think, in my opinion anyway, is Black Summer, man. Because the zombies in that show, they just look like a rabid human, you know? They don't have no like crazy animated thing, and they're not like super slow or whatever. It's just like a human that's bugged out in the mind, like just being a cannibal. That's what it damn near is, man. But people thinking that Yahweh won't pull that out for the day of the Lord's wrath. They don't know what they're talking about neither, man, because anybody that studied that genre of show, they're gradually making all of these things have way more science to back up how it could happen, man. Whereas in the past, it was always just some random thing. And people ain't laughing at that genre no more. they're starting to get more shook about that, man. But anyway, Romans chapter 8 and verse 39, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of Yahweh, which is in Mashiach Yahweh Shah Lord. So nothing can stop us from receiving that, man. If we're supposed to receive it, nothing can stop us from getting it. No one. And no one member of the elect can't pray against another member of the elect and say, take his salvation away. That can't happen. Nobody can't say, oh, I know he's going to be higher ranking me in the kingdom, so can I pray to you that I'll have his portion of the kingdom? No, you can't do that. You can't trade your portion of the kingdom for another person's portion of the kingdom. You can't do that. Your portion is your portion, and their portion is their portion, man. It's been already foretold, man. Just like the story of how the Israelites was going to go into captivity in Egypt, man. That was foretold, man. It was prophesied that was going to happen. And it's interesting that when they make these movies about Exodus, they never show that in any of the movies, man. I think that would add a lot more depth to that story, man, if they showed Abram being told that, if they even just put a little segment of that in a movie, man, that would have added a lot more depth to that storyline, man, to show how deep that story really is, that had to happen. And if it would have then also showed the Canaanites doing all the madness that they was doing and show that they had they was pivotal in the story of the Israelites going into their land too, because at the same time as the Israelites was in captivity, the Canaanites had to fulfill certain wickedness that they had to fulfill, man. Right? They had the Amorites, it says, the iniquity of the Amorites was not fulfilled. So they had certain portion of the wickedness that they needed to do. And at the same time, the Egyptians had to keep the Israelites in slavery for a certain time frame, man. And those two things worked in perfect alignment, man, so that the Israelites could come out of captivity. It's a deep story, man. Just like the whole Bible is a deep story, but Christianity don't give you none of that. They just tell you that God loves everybody, and the things that they give you is not even true, because God doesn't love everybody. Romans chapter 9 and verse 13 proves that. Let me read this scripture. This is Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 11. Ephesians chapter 1 and verse... No, that's not the scripture I wanted to look here. In fact, you know what? I will read it. Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 11. In whom also we have obtained an inheritance, being predestinated according to the purpose of him who worketh all things after the counsel of his own will. So that does go into the topic that I'm speaking of, in fact, because the topic is that some people are just born evil, right? And just like how some people are just born evil, some people are just born, well, everyone is just born, that is born like that. They're just born to be a prophet, right? Some people are just born to be a believer in the Lord, right? People have been born and made to do the things that they do, man. Everyone has been given a particular task from the Lord. And where's that scripture, man? There's a particular scripture that I'm thinking of right now. Salakia. Maybe I'll be able to find it. Here we go. This is Sirach chapter 18 and verse 1. He that liveth forever have created all things in general. The Lord only is righteous, and there is none other but he, who governeth the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will. For he is the King of all, by his power dividing holy things among them from profane. So everything works according to the will of Yahweh, man. Everything. Nobody's able to fall out of the path and out of the particular movie role, if you want to say it like that, that Yahweh gave them. Everyone fits in to a particular task, that all of that task combined causes for prophecy to happen. Right? Every single person's role that they've been given on earth, all of it together, the whole thing, all these billions of people on the earth, all of that stuff combined is what's causing prophecy to happen, man. Revelation chapter 4 and verse 11. Thou art worthy, O Yahweh, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. So going back from that scripture to this, right? he that liveth forever, created all things in general. Yahweh only is righteous, and there is none other but he, who governeth the world with the palm of his hand, and all things obey his will. For he is the king of all, and by his and for he is the king of all, by his power, dividing holy things among them from profane. Right? Thou art worthy, O Yahweh, to receive glory and honor and power, for thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. So nothing's outside of the realm of Yahweh, right? Anything that people do, man, and it's the hard thing for a lot of people to follow and to swallow, because they want to think that they're so special, man, right? They want to think that they're so special, and some people say that's just an excuse that we say so that we can not be accountable for anything that we do and all that. Listen, man, it is what it is, man. This is the truth, right? If you don't like it, you was made to not like it. Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 24, man's goings of Yahweh, how can a man then understand his own way? Right? And people are always trying to search out the meaning of life, and they never understand it because they're always trying to find it out based on their mindset. But when you understand it through the scriptural way, it all makes sense, man. It all makes perfect sense. If a man starts getting too big for his boots, part of that man's programmed life is going to be that something happens to humble him, especially if he hasn't lived according to the Lord, right? For example, man, there's a scripture that says, money gained hastily will dwindle, right? What are some of the ways that people gain money hastily in this modern day? One of the main ones is cryptocurrency, right? That's one of the major ways that people gain money hastily. Another more common way might be gambling, right? And then another way might be the stock market, right? That's some of the three ways that people can gain money in a real fast way. And then you've got all these women that making money from these OnlyFans and all that stuff that they gain their money in those ways, right? And if all these people is to honestly assess when they make this money fast on one side, they'll probably notice that they also lose the money fast in another way, because that's just proving further that the will of the Lord and that the things that the Lord said will happen are true, right? Money gained hastily will dwindle. There's a scripture that says roughly along the lines of that money gained fast will fall, man, right? Because everything's according to Yahweh's will, man. And if Yahweh says something's going to happen a certain way, he has to prove that that's the case. So people can try and think that they're searching out whether the Lord's way is true or not, but really they're just further doing all the things that they do to prove that what he said is true, and that's part of their programmed way of life. Simple as that, man. Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 1. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh, right? It's simple. It's simple, man. Verse 2. All the ways of man are clean in his own eyes, but Yahweh weighs the spirits, and when he weighs the spirits, these are the spirits that he made, right? So like I said before, and I've read in the scriptures, some spirits are spirits of vengeance, some spirits are spirits of prophets. And then it even says, let me see this. This is Second Peter chapter 3 and verse 3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust. So there's also spirits that have been given people to scoff, to where they don't believe anything and they claim that they're evidence based. They say, I'm about an evidence. I only believe things that I can see and all of that, right? If you ask these people if they believe in it in the ice age, they'll believe that, right? If you ask people whether they believe in evolution, they'll say they believe that. But when have they ever seen one species change into another? When have they ever seen that happen? Never in their whole life. They've just seen a couple of movies on it. They've heard some people that sound intelligent talk on it, but they've never seen that happen ever in their life, man. So they just believe whatever the government at the time is telling them. They believe whatever is the most common belief because they don't want to be left out. They don't want to be the odd one out in any way, man. They just want to believe whatever everyone else is believing, because they're weak. They don't want to be left out of the group, man. So they just follow whoever seems like they got power at the time. Let me get this as well. Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 12. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And those ways that seem right unto men have ultimately been given to them from the Lord as a trick. And people don't want to accept that the Lord would do that, but he does it, man. He does it. Because he don't want everyone, in order for him to show balance, the balance of himself, right? The way how he deals with people in balance. He has to have some people that he loves and some people that he hates. He has to have some people that are good and some people that are bad. He has to have hot days and cold days. He has to have water and he has to have air. He has to have opposites, man. To be able to show the contrast on different things so that you can really see everything different, so that you can see the glory in certain things, man. This is 1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 19, proving that Yahweh will trick people. 1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 19, and he said, hear thou therefore the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Yahweh said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. So there was a particular task that Yahweh wanted to take place, right? That task that Yahweh wanted to take place was already set. And that task that I'm reading about right now in this case was that Ahab was going to fall at Ramoth Gilead, right? Now that task was set, like I just said. That task was going to happen whether Ahab liked it or not, right? Now the method Yahweh gave to the angels to free them, but ultimately he knew what was going to be the way that he was going to decide anyway, and he had the final say on what was going to be the method that was going to actually make the task that he set out take place, right? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. Let me read that verse again. Verse 20, 1 Kings chapter 22 and verse 20. And Yahweh said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahweh and said, I will persuade him. And Yahweh said unto him, wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. Go forth and do so. Right? Now therefore, behold, Yahweh put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these thy prophets, and Yahweh have spoken evil concerning thee. So that's just one case, right? But that what people don't understand is that this takes place with all things, man. All things as a council. Nothing that takes place is just random events, because there's prophecies in the Bible. So none of this stuff is just randomly taking place. It's all taking place because prophecy has to happen. Because as I read earlier in Sirach, the 18th chapter, he that liveth forever created all things in general, right? Yahweh's never been born. He just made everything. Now, don't ask me how that took place, because I obviously don't know. I obviously don't know how Yahweh can be made forever. So don't start trying to think, oh, I'm going to ask this guy. How would I know that? How would I know that, man? How would any man on earth, if any man on earth says he knows the beginning of life and how things took place, and you believe him, well then you're man, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'll just say it like that. A man can't know these things, and there's a scripture that says, all things cannot be in the Son of Man, for the Son of Man is not immortal. I don't know where that is. I don't remember where that is, but I know I've read it, and if you search that up, you will find it. All things cannot be in the sons of men, or something like that, for they're not immortal. So more is going to come within the Israelites, and we're going to have greater understanding on things on the earth when we become immortal, man. We've already got great understanding of certain things now, right? But the time's going to come where we're going to have even greater understanding. And I'm looking at a scripture right now to prove it, in fact. Sirach chapter 17 and verse 9. He gave them to glory in his marvelous acts forever, that they might declare his works with understanding. And that's what the Israelites do, man. We declare life and death. We declare things in the earth with the Lord with understanding, man. And it makes perfect sense that there's no such thing as free will. And that's why all these things take place. And that's why people say such things as history repeats itself, because it's the same spirit coming back on the earth again, but then things will be modernized. So in 1,000 years ago, the same people might have been alive in the same place, right? But they wouldn't have been wearing jeans. They wouldn't have been wearing t-shirts, They wouldn't have been wearing Nike, right? They would have been wearing different brands. They would have been wearing different clothing. They would have been maybe tailor-made clothes. They would have been wearing robes or whatever, right? And 1,000 years before that, people would have been dressed a different way again. But it's the same spirits coming back over and over again, continually fighting for the rulership of the earth. But different people get to be winning in this lifetime, and different people get to lose in a different lifetime, so that prophecy can be fulfilled, man. And in the time that we're living in now, it's the time of the Israelites, man. It's the time of the Israelites receiving their kingdom, right? This is the time of the Israelites receiving the kingdom now. Let me get a scripture on that. If you don't believe what I'm saying, believe what the scriptures say, which is what you should believe anyway. Don't believe me. Believe what the Bible says. Daniel chapter 2 and verse 44. And in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. And that's what we're waiting to see. We're gradually waiting, and everything's taking place so that the Lord, Yahweh Shai, can receive his kingdom, the same kingdom that he was told he was going to receive before he was born, right? By where his kingdom was going to be an everlasting kingdom. He's waiting to receive that, man. Let me read it. Luke chapter 1 and verse 33. In fact, Luke chapter 1 and verse 31. And behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Yahweh Shai. He shall be great, and he shall be called the Son of the Highest. And Yahweh power shall give unto him the throne of his father David, and he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there shall be no end. So that's the kingdom that's waiting to take place on the earth. That kingdom that Yahweh Shai is going to rule, right? That's what we're gradually waiting for. And that's what everyone on the earth has been waiting for every single time that people have really been on the earth. But then other men have tried to usurp that throne and think that they're going to give it unto themselves. But all those kingdoms always fell, because that's not the everlasting covenant kingdom. That's not the everlasting kingdom. That's not the throne of David, man. This is Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 13. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like unto the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, and there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and the kingdom which shall not be destroyed. So that's Yahweh Shai's kingdom. But guess what? The Israelites have got a portion of that kingdom too. Verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Right? Now let me jump down again. Verse 25. Daniel chapter 7 verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and dividing of times, and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and destroy unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. So that's what's getting ready to take place, man. The kingdom of heaven is getting ready to take place, and everything that's been ever happening on the face of the earth has always been taking place with that particular goal in mind, for the kingdom of heaven to be made, right? Now, Christianity don't speak of the Bible like this, right? They don't speak about these things taking place on the earth, but the earth is going to contain that heavenly kingdom. Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9. Revelation chapter 5 and verse 9. And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain and hast redeemed us to Yahweh by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, which is ultimately the Israelites that is in all of those nations, and has made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth, because the kingdom of heaven is going to be on the earth, man, right? And the reason why it's called the kingdom of heaven is because the scriptures say within the Lord's Prayer, right? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on the earth as it is in heaven, right? That's what it says, man. Now, let me get another scripture. Because the world's getting ready to be changed into a new heavens and a new earth, man. And I didn't even intend on making this video be that long, because, but it is what it is anyway, man. This is Revelation chapter 21 and verse 1. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. So the earth's getting ready to be looked at completely different to what it looks like now, to where it looks like heaven, man. The earth's going to look like it's something that fell out of the sky when Yahweh Shai comes down here. The earth has never experienced somebody ruling over the earth like Yahweh Shai is going to rule, man, right? The earth's never experienced that. The earth's never seen what a godly being looks like if he's on earth. He's never seen that, man. When Yahweh Shai came down to the earth, the first time he came in the earthly flesh, right? The world's never seen that. He's never seen or experienced it, man. He's never experienced the rulership of godly people. It's never happened before. It's happened in part during the kingdom of Solomon. And look at the glory that Solomon had in that time. But it's going to happen in the fullness when King David is ruling, and underneath him is going to be, when Yahweh Shai is going to be ruling, and underneath him is going to be King David and the rest of everybody else, man. Right? The 12, everyone, the 144,000, the elect, the rest of the elect, it's going to be a godly kingdom, man. But the world's never experienced that before. So when it does, it's going to look like a new heaven and a new earth. Verse 2, Revelation chapter 21 and verse 2. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yahweh out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And that's the Israelites, right? The Israelites is that New Jerusalem, because the Israelites are going to be changed into something completely different than what they are now. Like right now, people can laugh at Israelite, they can mock them, they can trick them and deceive them. But when that Israelite gets given that perfect way, and they get given Yahweh's algorithm of faith and of the laws and of fear and of a new body, a new heart and a new spirit, and of immortality and of incorruptibility, right? There's not going to be no heathen that's going to be able to tempt them in any kind of way. They wouldn't dare to do that in the time to come. Verse 3, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them, and be their power. And Yahweh shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying. So for all you people out there that say that we're under the new covenant, are you crying still? Are you complaining? Right? Are you sorrowful? If you are, is there still death among your nation? If there is, well then you're not under the new covenant, are you? It's okay, man. Just stop saying that we're under the new covenant, because we're not. I know you want to be righteous and you want to be immortal and that. So do I. But you don't have to lie about it, man. We're not under the new covenant yet, man. It's okay. We're not under it. Just tell the truth, man. Just tell that you're not helping nobody by lying and saying that we're under the new covenant, and you're not even helping yourself, because nobody don't believe you anyway when you say it. Just tell the truth, man. Neither shall there be any more pain. Is there pain still? So how can we be under the new covenant? For the former things are passed away, right? And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. So the earth's getting ready to be completely different, man. When we look out the window, it's gonna look something. We ain't gonna have no need to be watching TV in the kingdom, right? These things are gonna be completely different, man. The life's gonna be like TV. Your life's gonna be like that for the Israelites, anyway. And then eventually, life's gonna be even better than it is now for the heathen nations. But Esau's not gonna get to be buried and given that peace like everybody else is gonna be given, man. He's never getting that. His life's just going to keep getting worse and worse after he's fulfilled what he needs to fulfill with the sword during the day of the Lord. After that's been fulfilled and he's fulfilled his portion of the Armageddon war, fighting against Yahweh Shai, right, World War III and all of these things, trying to push the Karagman people. After that, life's just going to start getting worse and worse after that, man. Until the point where he's purged off the earth completely, fulfilling Obadiah, the first chapter and the 18th verse, right? And there shall be none remaining in the house of Esau, for Yahweh has spoken it. Their time's almost up, man. Revelation chapter 21 and verse 5 again. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write for these words are true and faithful. So this is going to happen, man. Whether people think it's going to happen or not, don't matter. It's going to. It's going to happen, man. Right? Even if men that said it was going to happen stop believing that it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It just meant that they wasn't one of those spirits that are destined to receive this in this time frame. Anyway, they're going to receive it with shame and contempt. Daniel's chapter 12. You know, the Israelites that don't end up getting it the first time round will receive it anyway, so that prophecy can be fulfilled, saying that all Israel is going to be saved. But their salvation is going to come with some guilt given to it, attached, man. Continual, everlasting guilt. Not guilt that another Israelite is going to push on them. Guilt that they're going to have because now they're in their right mind and they've woke up from the nightmare of being in this kingdom, and they've woke up from their deep slumber and had removed all the lack of faith that they had, right? And now they're in a righteous body, immortal. But they're going to know that in the past, before that thing was put on, this righteous way was put on them, that their nature was to be a scoffer, was to be against the bringing forth of this beautiful kingdom that the Israelites are now going to be experiencing, man. They're going to know that they was trying to stop this glorious kingdom from taking place, because the kingdom's going to be so beautiful that you're going to think, well, how did anybody ever not want this to happen? And as an Israelite, it's going to be even more guilt that you're going to be of knowing that you is one of the spirits that didn't want this to take place, man. It's going to be a thing that's going to be hard to bear every time that annual celebration takes place, right? Which, let me show what I mean by that annual celebration. And then I think I've made more than enough of a point on this particular topic, man. But the Lord makes men say what he wants them to say anyway. This is Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 7. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led. Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel. So why does it say seed if it's talking about everybody? Right? The seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries where I have driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. And here's one thing that you have to find out about Christianity, man. Anywhere where it mentions Israelites literally, you'll notice that they start lying, man. Right? If your doctrine's the truth, your doctrine don't change when different people are asking you about it. So among each other, when these Edomite Christians are alone by themselves, I guarantee that the way they break down the scriptures is different than if they have some of you Latinos, Native Americans, or so-called Negroes in front of them. I guarantee that they explain the scriptures and they talk about the scriptures in a different way than when they're around you. And why is that? Because they're lying when they're talking to you about it. When they're talking to you about it, they'll try and say that being Israel don't matter. But if they're talking to one of those people that are in the land of Israel right now, that are pretending to be the chosen, they ain't going to say that it being an Israelite don't matter to them. So why do they say it don't matter to you? because they're lying to you. And you have to be able to be wise enough to see that they're doing this. Also, you have to be able to know, you should be starting to notice, man, that when you say you're an Israelite and you're a Negro, Latino, or Native American, the world is bothered by that when you say it, but the world is not bothered by Ethiopians saying that they're Israelites. Why is that? Why does the world not care when an Ethiopian person says that they are Israelite, but they're bothered when a so-called African American says that they are an Israelite? Why is that? Why do they have them invite the Ethiopian claiming to be an Israelite over to the land? But when you say that you are, it's a problem. When the appearance of an Ethiopian and the appearance of an African American does not look much different, man. Especially among the women. The appearance of an Ethiopian woman and the appearance of an Israelite woman are not very different, man. At all. They look very similar. Very, to the point where in some cases you can't even tell the difference. So why is it that they have a problem when you say you're an Israelite, but they don't have a problem when they say that they are? Why? And if you're a thinking person, you would know why. But it's a spiritual thing that makes you know this. Anyway, Jeremiah chapter 23 and verse 8 again. But Yahweh lived, which brought, which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries where I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. And that's that annual celebration. The salvation that we're getting ready to receive is going to be greater than the Passover celebration, man, which is still going to be a celebration that we're going to keep. But the point is that there's going to be a celebration that's greater than that, right? Which if the Israelites had really been put in their final salvation, then the greatest celebration that the Israelites would be keeping, that the people that are claiming to be the Israelites would be keeping anyway right now, would not no longer be the Passover. They'd have a new celebration that they're talking about, that all of them agree on. But is that what those people in the land are talking about? No, it's not. They're still complaining about some Ishmaelites trying to take the land from them. So what's up with that? Now, let me read this, because that scripture in Jeremiah 23 is also in Jeremiah 16, showing that it's something important, man, because it's written twice, right? Which, not to say that things that are written once are not important, because the color of Yahweh Shai in the book of Revelation, the first chapter, that's only written once in that term of phrase, but then it is mentioned a second time again, the color of the Messiah, in the book of Daniel, the 10th chapter. So this is Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that it shall no more be said, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. So that one's even more deep than the 23 one, you know. I prefer how that one sounds, to be honest with you. I don't think it says fathers in the, yeah, it don't. It don't say fathers in 23. Let me read that again. Jeremiah chapter 16 and verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that it shall no more be said that Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but Yahweh liveth, which brought up, which led the children of the land, the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither I had driven them, and I will bring them into their land that I gave unto their fathers. But both times it lets you know that it's based on a seed line, because in Jeremiah 23 and 8 it says the seed of the house of Israel, but in Jeremiah 16 and 7 and 15 it says that they're going to be brought back into a land that was given to their fathers, letting you know that it's a lineage based thing. Because what was the land that was given to the fathers of the children of Israel? It was the land of Canaan, right? And how can you get around that in Jeremiah 23 and 8 it says, which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country? How can you get out of that? How, if it said seed of Edom, you know that they wouldn't be trying to say, nah, it's not, it's for everyone. You know they wouldn't do that. But every time things are mentioned to Israelites, isn't it funny that everybody wants a taste of that? But they don't want a taste of the bit where it comes to the curses, though. They want all the good things that the Israelites have, but they never want the bad things. And isn't that the same case when it comes to the Negro, Latino, Native American on the earth? Because we are those people. We are the Israelites. And the fact that people don't are bothered by that the most when we say that we are is further proof that we are. It's further proof that we are, man, because they don't get bothered by anybody else saying that they are. If the Ishmaelites were saying that they're the Israelites, people would never have a problem with that. They wouldn't care. If the Chinese started saying that they're the Israelites, they wouldn't care about that. But they have a problem so much when we say that we are. Because we are. We are, man. We are them. And I'm going to end the lesson there, man. I'm gonna end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. Shalom.